Appreciate you guys making the trip here. What do you
Thank
think
you.
of the studio so far?
Oh, it's great. Very high tech and very user friendly. So I think this is pretty awesome. You guys have definitely set the standard, and the bar is high for us to try and emulate.
Yeah, it's been awesome. We appreciate the time that you guys have spent with us, helping with some of our ideas, our
Yeah.
crazy harebrained idea that we came up with that everybody thought we were on something.
Yeah.
What's the idea?
The idea was to engage more with our field workers and our employees. Because I feel like, we've got guys like Larry Chesser out in the field that just go about doing their work, right? And they don't really get talked about. So you don't necessarily understand the creativity and things that they put in place out in the field, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important to communicate things with our teammates because this is a great way to have conversations with individuals and employees. But I like it that we get an opportunity to share some techniques and, as a prior military, tactics and procedures that may be beneficial for others. So it's a great tool for collaborating across the company. And I think that once we get on the ground and get running, I think it's going to be a really great thing. So I'm very excited to see how things evolve. But Randy approached me and said, hey, let's do something like this and kind of capture some of our employees and what's going on. So I think it's going to be a really good thing.
Yeah, because we've heard, having been with the company for a bit, I'll hear these stories, right? You and I have talked about stories, right? And that's what it's about, is telling a story. So I hear these stories of so-and-so starting with this or so-and-so doing this, and he used to be in Phoenix and now he's this. And now we had one guy that it was in high school. He was sweeping the shop floor in our Buda shop, right? And now he's an operations manager. So to me, stories like that are amazing that we need to tell, because I feel like sometimes people might get in the company and they're kind of focused, I'm sheet metal, I'm pipe, and they don't necessarily know that, oh my God, did you know Ryan has a podcast? That's crazy. He started this back in 2019. There's some things like that I thought would be really good to share. And I do agree with Brian, is we need to not just come at it from like, okay, we're in the office, right? The work is being done in the field, and that's what makes all of this go, right? Just like in the electrical side of things, the linemen make things go, right? Our pipe fitters and sheet metal shop workers, et cetera. As one of our owners used to tell us, guys, we hang pipe and duct. That's all we do, right? So I keep that in mind, because that is really literally what we do. We hang pipe and duct. So I think he cautioned us, we're not a technology company dabbling in construction. We're a construction company, and sure, we want to use technology to help us be more efficient, safe, and more effective.
As linemen, all we do is put sticks in the ground.
Right?
You guys bring up a good point. I was just in DC at the ISS Safety Symposium there in DC, and one of the biggest topics that I keep bringing up in front of people when I get the opportunity to, I had the opportunity to be on stage and moderate a panel about the generational transfer of knowledge in the trades, right? And I don't know what it's like for your guys' trades and industries, but in line work and in the electrical industry, there's this massive gap right now. There's the older folks that are, on the tail end of their career. Mm-hmm. And then you've got this new generation starting, and you've got this massive gap in the middle. And they say it's like 10 to 15 year gap. And how do we get this knowledge that these guys have before they go passed down to this new generation? And one of these missions I've been on for the last 6 years of doing this, 7 years of doing this, is like trying to talk about podcasting as a way of communicating this, right? Helping to communicate. Like it's just one tool in many, but communication is the thing. How do we become better communicators? Well, this is just such a great tool I've found to reach those and help transfer that knowledge. So that's like one example of why I think podcasting is good and why it can help people, because when you listen to a podcast, it's also like very much like a personal experience, right? You typically listen to a podcast by yourself, alone. So you can really, I don't know, connect with the people that you're listening to on there. And it's I don't know, it's just a good opportunity to take what you know and pass it along. That's why I like talking to all aspects of the trade, and all of the different trades, because you have things that you can learn from other trades as well. Just because you're a pipe fitter or a lineman doesn't mean you can't learn something from a pipe fitter or a lineman, right? So that's what I like about it.
We're kind of seeing the same thing in terms of what you're talking about with the gap, right? Because I think for so long, I can't remember if I was talking with who I was, but we were talking about how for so long everyone was so focused on getting that 4-year degree, right?
Yeah.
And then launching yourself into a career. And the trades kind of get left behind, right? People, I think, kind of felt like, well, the trades, I can do way better by getting my degree and going and studying this or that. And we're seeing the gap for sure, because we have a lot of superintendents and foremen that are older that are going to be retiring, right? So I feel like that's another aspect of what we want to do, is we want to reach those folks to say, look, you don't have to get a 4-year degree to have a great job and do well. You can start out in a trade and you can be a pipe fitter. You can be a sheet metal person. I mean, those are some of those prime examples that we want to highlight. Look at where Brian started. Look at where Randy started, right? Yeah. I think those would be really good to share and externalize, if you will, more than just us internally.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is very important is there's a lot of institutional knowledge in and around our company. And I think, as we have more seasoned employees and we get some more, as I call, greenhorns on board, right? It's important to foster a good line of communication. I know of what I typically like to refer to as the 3 C's. That's to communicate, collaborate, and cooperate. And I think that that's a great thing to do in every aspect of what we do, because that allows for a lot of mentorship as well. And we really need to capture that institutional knowledge and pass that on through lessons learned, or however we want to do that, because once that person decides that they're going to go on and do other things outside of the company, we've lost that knowledge. So we've got to figure out how we can do that. And I think by doing a podcast is going to help bridge some of that gap. But also a lot of it, we're going to have to rely on a strong mentorship program. And, the trades are great for that, because you have journeymen and master plumbers and master pipe fitters and all that stuff. So that's a great mentorship program. Mm-hmm. We just have to do a really good job with our seasoned employees, making sure that they pass along the institutional knowledge.
Have you built any other sort of programs, that like a leadership program within the organization?
Well, one of the things that Randy and I are looking at is actually one of our operations managers out of Dallas has actually at our last president's meeting mentioned that we'd like to stand up some type of leadership development, organization leadership development program. So one of our tasks, Randy and I are actually going to go out to the Lazy Q, take a look at the setup and the curriculum and stuff, and see what we can do to do that as well, so that we can have, and this is just some phases that we're looking at. The first level would be like the base, the foundational for leadership, and then you have your operations level, and then maybe transitioning to a strategic level for some of our senior employees. So that's in the mix. We're looking at definitely doing something like that, but we're excited to do that.
There has been a gap, though, because from just what I've seen in the past, okay, Ryan, you're our new project manager. I'm going to send you out to the job with Brian, right? And you may be on a particular job. You're very new, just got out of college, right? So you're not sure what a spec is compared to a pipe welder versus, a sheet metal person, right? Or ductwork. What is that? What does ductwork do, right? So what I've seen is, I think what you would get started, we'd throw you out there with Brian, and then depending on how big that job was and what type of other project management support he had, he'd be like, okay, you're going to be over here working with that, and I want you taking a yellow highlighter and marking the drawing for how many feet we completed today, right? Versus what kind of leadership development is that?
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, there's on the job training, but we felt like we need a little bit more formalized approach, because I feel like there is, like Brian said, there's so much knowledge within DSI. Let's try to document that and do like the levels of things that he said, like, okay, Ryan's our new project manager. Let's have him start with these things, right? You're going to work on a spec book. You're going to work on this. And I want you doing RFIs and submittals. And let's get him a basic understanding of the drawings and how they're done. So we're going to go send you over to Adam so you can hang out with the detailing team and you can see the 3-dimensionals and things like that, because that may prompt something within you like, oh yeah, that's cool, I love this, or I've worked with that, and I love the game, so that's like a little bit of a game to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important too, because a lot of times employees will be promoted based on their performance, but sometimes they're not fully equipped to handle that next level. So that's what we got to do. That's our mission, is to get some tools and resources available to our employees that when they become leaders, in leadership roles, I should say, that they have tools and resources, and they understand that there is a network of support. And, it's kind of like a formal education, if you will, if we go this route and have an organization leadership development program. So.
Yeah, because I feel like we have to, if Ryan is our new project manager, right, we need to give you a path that says, hey, look, here's where you can go. And we want you to help, because you coming out of school, if you were involved in a group, maybe you picked up some leadership development or some qualities and things, but maybe you didn't, right? So if there's some things I think as for you as a person that we want to develop within you, so then you could potentially see that, oh, yeah, I would love to become that. Or maybe you're here for several years and you really we've seen this happen too with some project management guys that have ended up moving into estimating and pre-con, because there was something about that.
And we used to have a big project manager binder.
The binder.
And as digital age comes along, things have evolved. And so that is one of the toughest things, I believe, that when you develop curriculum and you publish curriculum, you got to review it. You got to update it. There's a lot of work involved in that. And
people don't realize that.
if you're going to commit yourself, you need to fully commit yourself to that. But I'm excited because we're starting to see things that through some different lenses and how to reach people and do things. So I don't know. It's going to be a great time as far as developing some opportunities for our employees. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and like when you started the podcast, what was your goal when you initially started it? Because I think you said you kind of started it on the side, right?
Yeah.
You were kind of doing it. So
that was a great question. I started it as a way to connect with the guys I used to work with in the field. I had transitioned from a field position, which I absolutely was passionate about. Line work was something I never thought I would leave the field. Well, you don't think that when you're young, but it's something I really, really loved to do. And I transitioned into a management position, and I was a couple years into that and missing the brotherhood. It's just different when people come in and grow up in an office environment. It's different feeling than you get in the trades, in the field, doing field work. It's hard to explain, but it's like, I don't know, the closest thing what we have to explain that is like a military experience, right? That sort of brotherhood, right? That's what you really get out of the field. So I was missing that. So I was looking for a medium that I could use to reconnect and just randomly reach out. I just wanted to reach out to people, and rather than just chat with them and not record it and just have that conversation myself, I wanted to record that for other people to listen to, because I had accumulated 15 years of really great stories of amazing places I've been around the world and worked, and really cool jobs I've worked on, and really neat people that I met. And I just want to talk about those. And I thought if I had those experiences, these people that I talked to would have the same experience. So that was the original reason for starting it. And then what I learned shortly after doing it was hey, these things that these people learn, these lessons, they're important for others to hear about. And it was beginning to be received that way too. hey, I'd get messages like, hey, I really learned something new from this guy. Like, thanks for having him on. I'm like, yeah, great. Awesome. That's really cool. So that's what I found was it was originally just to connect. And then there was a lot of value in transferring that knowledge down and passing it along. I actually just had this epiphany yesterday too with someone I was talking to. I was talking to a female line worker that is from New York, and she makes social media content and she's putting herself out there, and she's like one of the only female line workers that's making social media content. So I was just saying, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's tough to do. And I wish when I was going through my apprenticeship that I had mediums like this. And I think that a lot of younger people don't realize how amazing of a gift it is that this stuff exists, because they get caught up in social and, you get caught up in this world of like fighting people online and whatever.
Right.
But like, if you just rewind to the early 2000s, I started my apprenticeship in 2000. I topped out as an apprentice in 2004, and 2000 to 2015 is when I was on the tools. YouTube didn't exist until 2007. Facebook existed, but it wasn't really taking much for video. There wasn't platforms to connect on like there is today. And there definitely wasn't a phone with a great quality camera to record yourself. So I was always the person that was like dragging a camera along with me, but it was like a Nikon Coolpix. It shot 480p resolution. Right. I would tape it to a shovel handle, stick it in the dirt, and then go do a helicopter pole set on the side of a mountain just to try to document what I was doing, because it was really cool, but I didn't have these easy ways to communicate. And I remember sitting down with this lineman that I worked with for hours after work, talking about his experiences working in Chicago and Detroit. So I'm Canadian, kind of small town in Canada. It blew my mind that you could be a lineman and have this ticket and go work somewhere else in the world. Go work in, like, the US was far away at that time. I was just 19, 20 years old. So just listening to his experiences working in in like downtown Detroit, and some of the like near-death experiences he had just working with like around crazy people and things like that. I don't know. I loved his stories. Now you have access to share information like that. Podcasting, social media, YouTube, like whatever it is. Right. It's not hard for you to learn about other industries if people make content and share that. So that's why I try to encourage people to start a podcast, just start a social media channel, talk about your day-to-day is interesting to somebody else, because there's that person in rural Canada or rural Australia that would love to hear what it's like to work in Chicago. It's every day for you. So it's normal for you, but it's not for a lot of other people. So that was kind of like,
Yeah, you touched on something exactly like what we were talking about, sharing the stories that we hear, right? We've heard these stories and how will anyone else hear that story without doing something like this? Correct. Where we can talk to you and hear I was up on this pole because you made that comment about so many thousand volts with this rubber suit or some insulated suit or something. I was like, I can't even imagine being in that situation. But those are the things that I think we want to share, because we've got all these stories in the field. I mentioned the guy doing the shop floor. All those stories I think would be really great to share. So it's been fun to get encouraged by you all and saying, just do it and share those things, right? Because I would imagine when you started, podcasts seem to be fairly mainstream now, but like when you started, was everyone looking at you like, what?
That's crazy.
Because that's kind of the reaction we had.
It's the way I've been my entire existence. I wanted to do graphic design out of high school, but a foreman that worked for my father's company, a line foreman, kind of pulled me aside one day, because I'd worked around. I knew this guy. Pulled me aside one day and just basically called me an effing idiot for not taking advantage of this opportunity that
jumping
I had
on it.
Right in front of me. He's like, what are you, 20? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, you're 24 and you got a ticket that could take you anywhere in the world and make a good wage just like that. And you just do it. So I did it. But again, I give myself credit back then too, because it only took me an evening to realize that, come in the next day and go, okay, this is what I want to do. But I had no internet even to go like research what this job was. I only had growing up around linemen as an experience, and the select few that I could talk to about it, the 4 or 5 that worked for them that I could ask questions to. I didn't have DM function on Instagram to ask anybody in the world what this career was like. Like, kids today don't understand how much is available to them. So like, there's 0 excuses in my book for like not making it happen if you really want to make it happen, because it's all available there to you.
Yeah, information is easily available.
There. It's like, it's so available. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I feel like, another challenge that we've encountered over the years, I think, is the focus, and things have shifted, right? Because we used to record our training session. We'd have an hour-long training and we'd record it. And now I think about that and I think, oh my gosh, there's nobody that's going to sit through that, because they don't, you can say, oh, here's the title, this is the class, but you have I really want to know about submittals or an RFI, and I don't know when he's going to talk about it, right? And so, yes, things have changed, but I feel like the focus of time has really shortened, right? So I feel like we need to engage with that, or figure out how to engage others, right?
That's right. There's a thing called engaged leadership. And as a leader, it's not just going around and saying, hello, good morning, how's your day? It's actually engaging with your teammates, being a part of what they're doing, physically going through and doing a task with them. And then you get to know them a little bit more, and and when you do that, you're really building the team and solidifying things. And I'll tell you, construction is an outdoor sport, and
it's a fact.
One of the things that being at the headquarters, I always say I need to do things and get out away from the flagpole, if you will. And we can't lose sight of the fact that our men and women are out there doing great things. And that's what, I'm hoping that our podcast can really do, is highlight our successes, continue to share some of our trials and tribulations of how we work through things, and have a lessons learned, and really just engage our people, because there's a lot of great work out there. Mm-hmm. And I think that everybody deserves recognition. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's engage and celebrate, right? Because I feel like you said, if we're at the flagpole too much, and I always find it fascinating and fun to actually go to the job site, right? Because you see the actual things taking place, and you meet with the Robert Smiths who have been with us for a long time, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. How, because you also just hear those things, hear how they banter with each other, and then Robert's harassing me for not being out sooner. I'm like, dude, sorry. Yeah. I'm trying to get out here.
No, you're 100% right. And that's what I would encourage you guys, like I was telling you earlier, just pick your value, like pick your values, your intentions of what you want the product to be, product being the podcast. And like, what's your intentions? Is your intentions to provide value, to like real value for tradespeople and, whoever is going to end up being your audience, but real value, or is it to share a corporate message and be a commercial? I would advise against that, Yeah. Even though it's like an organization that's, creating this podcast, but you want it to be a valuable resource for people. You don't want it to be another training video that somebody has to sit through, right?
Right.
And I think that that's important. That's what I've always tried to do with this show. And it's been somewhat successful so far,
Yeah, it was helpful when you made that comment, because we've talked a couple of times, right? And initially you asked, are you going to do this internally or externally? And my thought was, internally, right? We're just going to share these stories. But then the more you discussed where it could go and what it could be in terms of providing that value, more than just someone within DSI, right? It could be someone that's getting close to graduating from high school, and they're trying to figure out, well, am I going to go to school and get that econ degree, which means I'm either going to teach it or something else, right? And you're trying to figure out what that really equates to in the job world. Mm-hmm. Or can we encourage someone that, maybe the person has more of a technical mind and they haven't thought about pipe or, being a pipe fitter or a sheet metal,
plumbing.
HVAC, plumbing, et cetera. So I'm hoping that that's another thing, because when you said that we should definitely go external, I thought, oh, yeah, I think we should, because we're going to do ourselves a disservice. I mean, it would still be beneficial and provide value, I think, for people within the company. But I feel like, with what you were suggesting, we can definitely reach other people too, because you even commented about some of the people that had been listening to the podcast that were just like military veterans and some other people, right?
Yeah, I'll share a story with you. And this is what, you can't control your audience and who it is, right? So that's why another reason I say, like, show up authentically and you'll reach the audience you're supposed to reach, right? So this story was, I share the story all the time because I think it was, it was given to me as a story to share as many times as I can. So the story of Noah Edmonds.
Oh.
Noah was a Air Force veteran, 2 tours in Afghanistan. He DM'd me on Instagram one day, and this was I'd probably recorded about 50 episodes to that point, like 2021, somewhere around there. And he just DM'd me. He's like, "Hey, Ryan, I'm not on social media much." He didn't even follow me on social media, but he found me online and direct messaged me and said, "I'm not on social media much, but I've been listening to your podcast. I listened to every episode, and I've got a great story about how you helped save my life. Do you think I could get on the phone and tell you?" And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely." Shared my phone number, got on the phone with him. We started talking about it, and he started sharing his stories. 2 tours in Afghanistan. After the second tour, came back he had to be medically discharged with extreme PTSD and trauma. So he wasn't expecting to be discharged that soon from the military. It was his purpose, his brotherhood, his camaraderie. Everything was the military. He signed up to serve and was not expecting to not be there a couple of years later. So he's looking for something to do in the civilian life, lost his purpose, like I said. He had an uncle that had a bread route and was ready to retire. So a bread truck and a bread route delivering bread. So he scrambled up enough money to buy his uncle's bread truck and bread route and started delivering bread. He's like, 8 hours in a truck by yourself all day with PTSD and trauma issues. He's like, it's not a good place to be. He's like, I just wasn't in a good place. I was searching for things to listen to on the radio or whatever. And he's like, I came across Powerline podcast. So I started listening and I just kept listening. He said, I loved what you would talk about. It was authentic. It was real. It was just this trades guy talking about, all of these cool things that you were doing in this trade. And he's like, one evening I was sitting alone at home at the edge of my bed with a pistol in my hand. And he's like, I was contemplating not being here. I was not in a good place, where a lot of veterans find themselves, unfortunately. And he was contemplating, ending his life. And he's like, I was thinking about 2 things. I was thinking about this baby I had on the way, and that was weighing heavy on my mind, and whether that was something I wanted to do was leave that baby behind. And then he's like, I kept hearing your freaking voice in my head. You talked about this trade that was, it had brotherhood, camaraderie, a sense of purpose, sense of service for storm work, and just all of these things that made this trade what it was. You could look back at the end of the day and look at what you built and be proud of that. And he's like, maybe I can do this. I don't know. Maybe there's a way in. And those 2 things, he decided to put the gun away and pursue a career in line work. And fast forward 12 months, I think it took him to find a co-op to give him an opportunity for an apprenticeship. Fast forward to today, he's happily married, 4 beautiful kids. He's a lineman. He's got purpose again. He's got a brotherhood. His co-op has given him an opportunity to pay for an engineering degree and shadow the engineer that's now leaving that district and become an engineer. So his life's completely changed. So all that to be said, like, I'm just a lineman telling stories about line work with other linemen who everyone said was stupid and nobody would listen. Well, Noah Edmonds listened to it, and it changed his entire life. So if that was the only person I reached, it's not, but if it was worth it.
Right.
So I can't control that. I didn't know that an Air Force vet would find his way into this industry and become something out of it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's such a cool story.
You can't
That's a
control.
great, that's a great story. Yeah, it sure is. And being humble is a good thing. And with the way your approach to the podcast and being humble, like you just said, I'm just a lineman. But you're more than a lineman. You do a lot of great things, and it's just it's important for everyone to remember that sometimes you just got to be humble and about what you do, because you never know, as you have found out, that who you're going to have an impact on.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't there a song called The Wichita Lineman?
Yes, there is. Yes, sir. That's
I
our
was thinking,
tune.
like we were talking earlier about whether there were any intro music. Why isn't that your intro music?
Oh, I'd have to pay for that one.
Oh, that's
But yes, that would be great. So tell me a little bit about DSI, about the organization. What do you guys do?
Sure.
Teach
So,
me.
I made the comment earlier about hanging pipe and duct. And if you want to keep it real short and sweet, that's what we do, right? But we're a mechanical subcontractor. So we were what you would call a full service shop. So we don't just do duct work, right? There are some firms out there that you can go to them and say, hey, I need a bunch of rectangular duct, or I need some 12-inch round, et cetera. So we actually design. So a lot of times the architects really don't know all of the systems, right? Like the water and the wastewater and air handling and all those things. So we'll design those. We'll fabricate them in our facilities. We'll ship them to the job site, and then we'll install them. So there's a wide variety of things underneath all of that. But yes, in the general sense of hanging pipe and duct, that's a good idea of what we do. But when you start getting into the weeds of what it is and the type of pipe that it is, the type of duct work, as Charlie, our sheet metal, there's this thing called pookie, which I thought was this ridiculous term. I'm like, it's basically like a sealer. Yeah, it's like a putty that they use on joints and
On sheet metal. Yeah.
So you just hear these things about pookie, but it's really interesting when you go out into the shop and you see the fabrication taking place, because sparks are flying. We've got plasma cutters. We've got these new robot welders that are doing things.
AI
generate. Yeah, it's amazing. So it's a really cool industry to be in, because a lot of what we do goes behind, like it's up in the ceiling here,
Sure.
right? Or it's in the fixtures in the bathrooms or in the kitchens and things. So
It's like our work too. A lot of it's buried underground.
yes. So we'll have underground work too, but it's basically, anything that's working with, we call it HVAC, but that's more of the air handling.
Sure.
The chilling air, whether you've got a central utility plant and some things like that. And then you've got, with some of the newer data centers, you've got some liquid cooled things. You got the pharmaceutical with process pipe.
high
purity, stainless. You got to know the source of the material. Every weld's got to be inspected and recorded. And a lot of times, if it's like some of the stuff we've done for pharmaceutical, the FDA has to approve it.
No way.
Yeah, because they're looking at all your
sure.
records to make sure that it meets all the specs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's
So what is your customer base? Like, what does it look like?
We do a lot of commercial construction. We have a mixed bag of customers. We've done projects with hospitals. Mm-hmm. We've done semiconductor. We've also done, one of our big ones is we renovated Kyle Field in College Station. So we did all of the plumbing and whatnot in there. So we do a lot of things commercial. We got some branches up in New York and Boston, Manassas, Virginia. We're obviously
You have a couple thousand employees, don't you?
yeah.
We do.
We just busted about 3,000 right now, so we're
Right.
getting up there. Things are really ramping up, and so it's a good thing,
Yeah, I'd say our typical customer is a general contractor. Usually someone will come to us and say, hey, we've heard about you. We want you to do all of the mechanical work for us. But we're large enough now, and we've had enough recognition or brand recognition or just people aware of us that we actually have some that we work directly for the owners.
And a lot of that is based on customer service.
Yes.
We take great pride in our work and our craftsmanship, and our name speaks volumes. So a lot of things have actually, we've been fortunate to have follow-on projects just because of our work ethic and our relations with our customers. So that's very important for us.
We did a lot of repeat work from customers, and we, like, another good example of what Brian is saying is we had a large, we're still out there. There's a large job site in Austin near the airport. And when we started, there were 5 mechanical subs. We were actually underneath another mechanical sub. Within probably 6 months, we were the only mechanical sub.
Wow.
Everyone else got booted because they weren't performing. We were performing. So they basically handed everything over to us. And now we've probably, 3 or 4 years we've been out there?
Yeah.
And we've got
some follow-on projects.
Another semiconductor manufacturer that we've been at one of their campuses for over 10 years. And then we were helped building another campus. So it's been interesting to see the evolution. And now everything is moving into the whole data center arena because of AI and so many things like that. So it's been really, it's like Brian said, we've done stadium work, lab work, hospital work, data center work. So
yes, and we mix it up. We don't put, if you will, all your eggs in one basket. So we do a good mix of things. So it's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there are some things. Work is there's a lot of work, and sometimes you may not be able to do something for somebody. And I always say we have to respectfully decline that one.
That's right.
But hey, doesn't mean we won't be back when time's available or whatnot.
So here's a question for you guys too, because I see this one a lot online when I'm making content. I throw stuff out about AI all the time just to get a feel for like what's coming back, right? And what people's take on it is. My take is, if you're in the trades, and especially like for our trade in particular, no doubt one day there's going to be some form of robot that does what we do. I don't see it still as advanced, as fast as AI is moving. I still don't see it doing what we do, how we do it every day. Maybe the how changes, so I don't know how we do it for a while yet. I think a person could still start a career today and end his career or her career today doing this job. Do you guys see similar with the trades that you have?
I don't think the trades are ever going to go away, to be honest. I don't care if we get 1 million and trillion robots. Prime example is we do have some welding machines that have AI tools. However, our tradesmen and women are the ones that are operating that machine.
They're teaching it.
Yeah.
Yes, and it gets smarter as it continues to weld. And it's a tool. It's not, in the way I see it, is that it is to complement our work.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's not to take.
And the
things
trades
away.
are typically a very dynamic environment where most robotics and AI controlled robotics happens in a very controlled environment, like
That's right.
like a factory. Building a car, it's the same. It's a controlled environment. It's not dynamic. It's not changing. It's not a random pull site in the backyard in Houston and then in the mountains of BC the next day.
Right, in torrential downpours.
Exactly,
Like I said, this is an outdoor sport, right? Yeah. And I give a lot of thanks to our men and women because they do work in austere environments, and technology and electronics and stuff. I don't see them rolling up in the middle of nowhere, hanging a giant line pole, right, or running.
Exactly.
Exactly. We still need
aspects of it will be robotic.
Yes.
Like
I agree with
dolly
that.
system, right? Like that might end up being a robot that senses how to turn that piece of pipe.
Yes.
But
yeah, I totally agree with Brian and you that I feel like it will enhance and help us be probably more efficient, but I don't think it's ever going to replace he or she up on a lift, shooting a hanger, right? Yeah. I mean, I know there's some robots now that can move on the floor and they can mark the floor where certain things are going to be, and they can actually shoot. We have some Trimble hardware that shoots points in the ceiling that says, here's where your hangers need to be, right? Yeah. Somebody's still got to go in there and drill the thing, and maybe there's a robot for that. But like you said, there are too many dynamic aspects of the field with all of these various sizes. Some of them, 40-foot clear. Some of them are shorter. You may have confined space. So I don't think you could come up with AI or a robot to handle all of that, because I think you still need a human with some eyes that are looking at that and be like, Brian, you got to get out of there, dude. That's not safe. You know, you know you're not supposed to be there, or why are you missing your PP&E or something? You can't go out there yet.
100%. 100% agree.
I mean, I don't see sure, we have a time tracking system that can look at Brian and say he's wearing a hat, he's got eyes, got this, and he's got a vest on, but that's the extent of it. It's not going to keep him safe when he's operating a press or he's running a welder or something else.
I will say too, sometimes just the mention of AI can be intimidating for people. Yeah. And I think really what we have to do is just kind of quell that, if you will, about, hey, AI is a good thing. It's a tool. It's a resource, and don't be afraid to use it. Mm-hmm. I mean, right. If it can help complement 100%. What we do, hey, I'm all for it. What is it? But you still have to validate it, right? It's only as good as the programmer that created it. So a lot of good things that come out of the AI, but I think we're still going to need tradesmen and women to do what they do. That's important.
Yeah, we've got a concerted effort underway, and maybe you do as well, in terms of how can we use it to help us, right? Because it's still, especially being in construction, right? Construction, in terms of when you consider the technology spend, we're like next to last. Agriculture is typically last. We're second to last. So construction has always been, I think, hard to adapt and accept new technologies. I think it's definitely moving a lot more quickly, or moving forward more than it has in the past. And now with AI being in the mix, I think it's kind of like what Brian's saying is we have an effort underway to figure out, how can this help us, right? What should we be using this with? What can, there are things I think that are pretty rote and common that you're like doing something in a spreadsheet that it can help you create. It can do so, and even looking for new people to fill a role, right? Yeah. You can put your job rec in there and say, okay, compare all these resumes. And it ended up kind of ranking people where I ranked them, but it did it, in seconds compared to me having to flip through everything.
Yeah. Figuring out how to use it, I think, as a tool, like you said, the best example I've been giving people lately, and I'm just doing this because I'm 45, so I'm showing my age. I give a Star Wars reference. But like, if you thought of AI as R2-D2 and the tradesperson as Luke Skywalker, when they fly up to the Death Star and they're going to destroy the Death Star, you got this little AI robot feeding you information, but you're still flying that jet, right? Luke's still flying the jet. Luke's still pulling the trigger, but he's working with his AI to see what's coming up, what's ahead, gather the info for me so I can absorb it and do my job, which is fly the thing. And I kind of see that might be a way that tradespeople can utilize AI, like, help coach me. What am I looking at here? Oh, I didn't realize it was that angle. Cool, thanks. And you're the one that makes it. You're the hands-on person. I don't know. That's the best representation.
No, I think it's a great that's a reference to
it's a very
utilizing
good
AI, and doesn't show your age to me because I saw that movie several times. So I love it.
I got you. That's why I used it. I was in good company.
Well, like, it's interesting that you say that, because when you think about our men and women in the field hanging the pipe and duct, right? It would be, I think the AI would come into play in terms of like the Novark welder doing a lot of these welds and then being able to ship that to the job site. And then somebody's still got to install that, right? That's where I don't see AI ever replacing our field hands, right? Because you can use it to do things that are maybe mundane, and it can do a lot of welding, and that would free him or her up to do some other things, right? Either installation, or they're still teaching those robots. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it's...
Well, we have for several years leveraged technology to make us more efficient. The design of the buildings with the BIM model already has the hangars and everything for us. So we got everything barcoded, so when we get to a job site, we know exactly, because you're fighting where lines are going to be. Electrical lines are here, whatever, and you instead of figuring it out, you've already got it on your drawings. You just go and put it up. So I think we've used that for quite some time now. But we're all about what we can do to make things more efficient.
Yeah, and that's what's, I think, interesting, because you were asking kind of like, what do we do, right? What's a mechanical sub do? I know linemen, right? I know electrical. I know towers and poles, but that to me is what's so fascinating about it. I think the mechanical aspects, because I'm sure it happens on the electrical side too. You're drawing these things up, because we saw a presentation where they were talking about 250 miles of towers in from like Boise down to Oregon or something. That was very fascinating, because they were talking about how you've got these 5 or 6 steps in every tower, right? Yeah. You got to engineer it, you got to do this, you got to do this. So ours is similar in some respects, because you're drawing all these systems, right? In the BIM systems, like Brian's referring to, you got these 3-dimensional models, so you can fly around and see these things where you have clash detection, right? Making sure you're not running into this or that. But the other neat thing is how they take that and then they turn around and do what they spool it. So it spools it to the shop floor for a device to fabricate. So it tells the operator that, okay, this Yeti right here is going to require 10 ounce or 12 ounce, gauge. It's going to need this. You're going to need that. You put it on the plasma table, and then it's going to make all these cuts. So the spooling is basically taking it from the drawing and putting these data and the materials together, and then sending it to the floor that says, okay, Ryan, you're my sheet metal guy, right? Yeah. This is what you're building, right? You got a 90-degree flange. You've got 18 gauge this. It's going to have Pookie, right? So there's some stuff like that I think is really neat to see it going from that 3-dimensional drawing to the shop floor. Cool. Guys are cutting the pipe, And
again, with the system that we're using, it's real-time notes. It's not like somebody in the field writing on paper drawings. It's all digital. They have it on their iPads. So they're getting adjustments. If one person makes an adjustment, everybody sees it immediately. So you're working off one set of drawings. So it's very efficient. And, that's our tradesmen and women that are operating that stuff. So,
that's where technology has really helped, I believe, and we've embraced it, I think, really well with that, because like you're saying, they're fabricating those things. So we've got our sheet metal shop, and then we've got our pipe shop. Every one of those has a label on it, right? And then they're scanning the label, and then they've got these baskets that some of this, depending on the size of it, it's going into the basket. And then they scan the basket, it updates the system, and it tells, hey, Ryan, your stuff's on its way. So you're checking your status.
Yeah, everything's got a barcode. So when it shows up, you scan it, and it tells you exactly, this is on this page or this floor, this is exactly where it goes.
Right, because you're managing your crew, right? And you're saying, okay, I'm doing chilled water on the 2nd floor. I wonder where I ordered the chilled water 3rd floor stuff. Where's it at, right? Then you can go look and see, oh, man, it's going to be here before.
You see what piece where in the process
you can see where it's at. And then you can also, schedule your crews based on that.
That's so helpful. That would actually, something like that, a system like that would be very handy in the line trade as well.
You could literally drill down to specific parts in a system for that.
Yes.
So it's amazing.
It's pretty cool, because you can turn off, you can do colors, you can turn off certain things. Like, I don't want to see chilled water, I just want to see wastewater. And then it's just interesting. I think, like you made the comment about them having the iPads in the field, so they can sit there and use the iPad and be, scanning the model to see that.
What a dream too, to know what your job is for the day, know all the work exactly. You can get in there and see exactly what you need to build that day, and that's laid out for you each and every day. That's right. Because a lot of times you show up to work, it's like, what are we building today?
Well, I don't know. That's why I kind of made that comment about you as a new project manager starting out, and we're telling, hey, Ryan, I need you to color code the drawing.
Sure.
Right? That was literally on the back of the door in a job trailer. He would close the door, and I saw this sheet metal and this yellow highlighter, and I was like, are we seriously in the 20th century or the 18th century here? He's highlighting how many feet we installed today, and I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that helps us too for planning purposes, because for project managers and leadership to look at job sites and see how we're doing and performing. When you get all that data, they always ask, all right, how much pipe have we built this year, and how much duct work how much has been cranked out. That's good too. Because you could see production-wise, but also it helps you with forecasting.
Definitely.
A challenge for some companies during COVID was supply. And when you do a great job at forecasting ahead of the game, work doesn't slow down for you, especially when you got the material and you just crank it out yourself.
Because you can get ahead of purchasing, you can get ahead of
absolutely. So
bidding as well. So, give me the Coles notes on you guys. What's your background? What are you doing currently?
Go ahead. His is way more interesting than mine.
I'm just the old feller. Currently I'm the HR director. I came on board with Dynamic Systems in the fall of 2019.
Good time to come on board.
Yep. Prior to that, I was at the Texas Department of Public Safety, and I was helping over at the training academy, doing some leadership training for troopers and recruits and Texas Rangers that were over there. Also had a little stint with Texas Parks and Wildlife here in the Human Resources Operations Department. I spent 24 years in the Army and retired February 28th, and then started at Parks and Wildlife in HR March 1st. So short-lived retirement, but did a lot of great things. I can relate to tradesmen and women as far as career paths, because mine was unconventional in a way that I didn't go to college right out of high school. I joined the service about 6 months after high school. As I started to get towards the end of my career, I was a scout and reconnaissance, and not much work for a reconnaissance specialist outside of the Army. So I thought, well, what am I going to do? So the Army had a program where they were paying 100% of your tuition to go to school. So I went to school at nights and on the weekends, and got my associate's degree. I like to do small goals, and got my associate's degree. And then I said, well, this wasn't too bad. Let me go on. So I got my bachelor's degree just by going to school at night and on the weekends. And then when I retired, I like to help people, and human resources seemed to be the thing. So that's what I got into. So
where was your tour? Because you've got that picture on your wall of.
I did 4 tours in Iraq, and did a little bit of time in Bosnia during the peacekeeping missions that were over there. So
I'm going to Bosnia shortly.
There you go.
Yeah. For different reasons. I hope.
Different kind of peace?
Yeah.
Where at in Bosnia are you going to go to? Do you know?
It's a day trip. I'm going to Croatia and Montenegro mostly. And we're just going to day trip in. I can't remember brain farting on the name of the town, but it's a popular town with a nice bridge. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I was shooting a Hallmark
I was
movie
in
or something.
Montenegro and
Yeah,
Hansk and some other places in and around there. But it was great. You know?
Cool. Yeah, no, we're excited about it. We're
love the food.
Yeah, good. That's
Get
good
a
to hear.
chuvapi.
Okay.
That's what they have. They're like little meat stick sandwiches.
Nice.
Chuvapis. They're great.
I can't wait. Honestly, my girlfriend and I, we've made it a mission. It's a goal of ours to visit one new country minimum every year for the next 25 years. And we've been on this roll for the last 4 years, and it's life-changing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Quickly, advice for veterans exiting active duty and entering the civilian workforce. I know this is it's hard to transition, because like you said, you learn one set of skills, you develop a set of skills in the military, and sometimes there's not a transitional, something to transition to in the civilian world. And so a lot of people struggle with that. I just seen it a lot, get the questions a lot. Advice for people.
Yeah, I would say, a lot of people say, man, I miss the camaraderie and all the good times we had together. And I would just say, if you are exiting and you want to figure out what you want to do, I would just say, think about some career fields, skilled labor in your story. That's a great one, if you want to continue your education. But I would just say continue to grow yourself personally and professionally. And I've had this conversation with a buddy of mine that retired recently, and I told him, I said, look, and he was a sergeant major. And I said, look, when you exit, you're not a sergeant major anymore. You're just, Chris. And, you have to understand that although our awards and decorations are important and they were truly earned, when you come out in the civilian sector, sometimes that doesn't matter. So just be yourself and just try and pursue something that you're passionate about. Nowadays there's a lot of support mechanisms for veterans and making it that transition. And you don't have to go at it alone. I mean, thousands of people do it all the time. Just get in a peer group and ask questions, but think about what you want to do. Don't wake up the next morning after your discharge and go, what am I going to do? Plan ahead a little bit, and try and get you a good exit strategy. But there's a lot of mechanisms to.
I'll offer some advice from my perspective. I've never served, but from the trades perspective, I'd advise, and I do advise these guys to lean on their leadership skills. You might not come out as a sergeant major, but you got a set of skills in leadership that is lacking on our side. We have we have a need for leaders and leadership. I used to get questions from kids all the time. What do I start learning in order to get into this trade? Is there things I can learn? I used to say things like, go get your commercial driver's license and a first aid ticket and go learn some basic electrical theory, things like that. And now I just tell them, go learn how to lead.
Yeah.
If you come into the industry and you know how to lead people, that's more valuable than you'll learn all the skills. So for someone coming out of the military,
absolutely,
you know how to lead. You might not be like the title of a leadership title, but the skill. You have the skill sets.
You bring up a great point, because sometimes when we start talking about leadership, people get confused with positions or titles versus leadership.
Yes.
And I've always been taught through my military that leadership is the ability to provide purpose, direction, guidance, and motivation to accomplish any task given.
Love that.
It doesn't say your position, right?
Oh.
That's a position leader. When you start saying your title, well, I'm such and such, you'll know this is leadership. And you don't have to be in as you mentioned, a certain position. Anybody can be a leader. Mm-hmm. The basic pre-apprentice, a journeyman, a lineman, a welder, anybody can be a leader at any time. So that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, because those skills are just skills that, especially if you've been in the military, you learned how to learn skills at a rapid rate. Becoming a lineman, becoming a welder, becoming a tradesperson of any sort, that's a skill set you can learn. You'll be taught through apprenticeship.
Right.
But if you're a leader and it can actually lead a group of people to accomplish something, that's a skill set that we don't have a lot of people. We have a need of that. Yeah.
We do too. Yeah, I totally agree. That's part of what I think one of our goals is to develop leadership amongst our people, because we're going to have that same situation that you mentioned where you've got an aging, experienced group, and then how do you transfer? How do you teach that? How do you bring up the next generation of leaders? We need to do that. For us to be over 3,000 people, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a lot of leadership that's needed.
Absolutely. So what's your background? What's your story?
So mine's a little bit different. I mean, I grew up as a military brat, so we moved a lot. My dad was Air Force, so I didn't go into the service, but I call myself a recovering accountant because I got I call it the CPA license, ages ago. So back then we called it the cut, paste, and assemble. That's what CPA stands for. So I kind of came up the accounting CFO side for decades. And then I kind of got tired of it, right? And so I've made the jump from being a recovering accountant to now I'm a director of training. So, a lot of people look at me like, how did you do that? There aren't too many people that make that jump. I'm like,
because you can do what you want.
Exactly, right? So, I always feel like, when people ask, like you were talking about asking Brian about people exiting the military, but then you got people exiting college, right? And I kind of fell into accounting. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It was like I had a bookkeeping class and I did pretty well. So they asked me what do you want to major in? I don't know, accounting. But I really feel like, you probably hear this from others as well, but it's figure out what you enjoy doing, right? And then get someone to pay you for it.
Yeah,
right? So
and the
figure out-
lifestyle you want to live and find a
Right.
job that supports it, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So that's why my path has been a little different. Because when I first started with DSI, it was my first non-accounting role. So if my boss kept asking me, it's like, because we have a lot of CPAs within the company, and I was another one, right? So then he kept asking me, "You okay? Are they trying to recruit you back to the dark side?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I don't need to. I don't ever need
I'm
to do
good
that.
where I'm at."
I'm good where." So now it's 10 plus years into it. So it's hard to imagine going back to that.
Well, personal opinion, I think if you're coming out in accounting nowadays, I think that's one of the jobs that is potentially in trouble
Yes.
from AI.
Right.
From AI.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So what are you guys trying to accomplish with the podcast? Talk about that a little bit. Talk about launching it, when you plan on launching it. What is it going to be about so far? Whatever you've gathered for info on what it's going to be about.
Well, that's a great question because, like I said, initially our thought was to kind of just do it internally, right? Let's just talk about some of the things. But I think the more, we've spoken with you, the more we've thought about it, the more we think it's an opportunity to really connect with others in the industry, connect with our employees, really kind of put a highlight on a lot of the field work that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's developing leaders. I mean, there's so many aspects of it. And that's what I think is so exciting because we sat down and we had these first 3 or 4 ideas. They've already exploded to like 12.
Yeah.
And half of them are engaging.
Yeah, you don't realize how much when wow, this and that, and your creativity juices get flowing,
I know it. Yeah.
So I think we want to engage with the field. There's some aspect of training, for me, but with Brian as well, with connecting people and being on the HR side. I think there's just so many opportunities here that I think it's like we talked about a little bit earlier is reaching out to people that may not be in the industry yet, kind of like what you've talked about with the linemen, is people that, wow, I never thought about being a pipe fitter or a sheet metal person. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. How do I learn more?
Yeah. All of it.
I think I want to have a successful, meaningful tool that allows us, as Randy mentioned, to celebrate and also a little bit to educate, but also the main thing is back to one of my 3 C's: communicate, and how we can get our message to a larger audience, and just see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I think there's so many neat things that are being done. Like we kind of touched on earlier with this data center job where they had to move this 180 feet of HDPE pipe, right? That's like, I didn't even know what that was. High density polypropylene, I think it is, or propylene, something like that.
Yep.
But just moving this 180 feet of pipe, they engineered some things where we fabricated it, sent it out to the job site, and then we've got this video of them moving this, and you're going, how did that happen, right? That's like you said, the education. Because that's, to me, that's creativity in the field that, okay, I've got an issue. Got 180 feet, a pipe over here, and it needs to go over there. How do I get it there, right? Because that's not like you're going to bring in this big Sikorsky. I mean, I guess you could, but they came up with a different way that's really cool.
I've dealt with that a little bit just with power poles too. I've dealt with, 80 to 120 is probably the longest pole I've moved, but 120 feet still, it's not 180, but it's still like, you start thinking, how am I going to take this corner? Like, how am I going to get this from point A to point B?
Right.
And one of Kiwanis companies, Bell Pole, recently acquired, they're finding poles in the forests of like the west coast of British Columbia that are 120 feet. And they got to move them from the forest in BC to like a job site in Chicago or, wherever. And yeah, it's a bit of that's cool. So what is it going to be called? When can people expect a launch?
I think we're going to call it the pipeline, kind of hence off of the power lines. It's like we talked a little bit earlier. We had another name in mind, and then we've kind of pivoted because we thought the pipeline is kind of
originally,
a brand.
If you remember, I think it's Zach Garofalus. Is that how
Galifianakis.
Yeah, how you say his name. He used to have the podcast Between the Two Ferns.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I told Randy, I said, well, how about Between the Two Hard Hats, right? You know, I mean, that was, what, almost 2 years ago?
Right.
I mean, that we had,
Yeah.
you know, had kind of casually mentioned something. But now, you know, as we get more polished and refined and start actually making a reality, the pipeline's
Yeah, I think,
gonna
you know,
be
we
cool.
got inspired when I had come down to visit and saw the name here. I thought, wait a minute. I mean, yeah, Between Two Hard Hats is kind of cool, but like we already have our intranet is called The Pipeline, right? So I thought that kind of reinforces the
it's way
brand,
better.
right? And we're pipe and sheet metal, right? So there's a little bit more right there too. So we're going to call it The Pipeline Podcast, and we wanted to use this as kind of our kickoff episode with you, and then I'm hoping that we're going to be able to record the others pretty quickly. I don't know if we'll be doing them as frequently as you, but our goal is like the things that we've talked about before is to get out there. And I think our hope is that this will organically grow. You know, I mentioned we've got probably at least a dozen ideas lined up that I think would be interesting, that are a mixture of people in the field, some people in the office, some of those stories about, you know, sweeping the sheet metal floor type thing.
Hopefully we'll get the content together and get some stuff on some episodes. I would hope by the fall, right? Certainly
If not
by the
sooner.
fall.
Yeah, it'd be nice to
You
get
know,
some out there
Be
sooner.
looking for the
I'd hate to
pipeline.
have this one drop and then all of a sudden we go dark for 6
Yeah,
months,
No,
right?
definitely.
yeah,
drop
we won't
two or
we
three at a
won't
time.
go dark, but we'll definitely get something out there. But hopefully, you know, we'll have some type of battle rhythm, if you will, by the fall, where we a little more predictability.
Yeah, part of it I think is going to see, you know, is it received? Do people like what we're talking about? You know, kind of like what you've touched on, being authentic and real, and we don't want it to be a commercial. Let's just talk about all these cool stories that are within DSI.
Yeah, and good feedback from listeners.
Yeah, and if that resonates with people, that's awesome, right? So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. I'm happy to support.
Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. We
Thanks for doing
appreciate
this.
it.
You
Yeah.
bet. Thank you.
Hope you guys got some value from the pod. Please hit subscribe. Love you. Peace.